With question 17, we're given 5 triangles A, B, C, D and E, and we're asked to find out which triangle has a different area. And for the area we need to count the squares. And what I like to do is I like to draw a rectangle. That's the area of my rectangle, and my triangle, if you look carefully, is half of that. There. So my rectangle is 1, 2, 3, 4 squares. And what I will do is I will halve that. So I will do 4 shared by 2. So this here is 2 squares. And each square is a centimetre, so it's 2 square centimetres, the area of the red triangle. Now moving on to triangle B. Same thing again. If I draw a rectangle, I can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have 6 squares here, but I only want half. If you have a look carefully, I'm going to halve that. So I do 6 shared by 2. 6 shared by 2 is 3. So I know this area here is going to be 3 square centimeters. So triangle A is 2, triangle B is 3. Let's move on to triangle C. Exactly the same way. What I'm going to do is turn that into a rectangle. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to halve it. And halving it there is the same as dividing by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. So again, this is going to be 3 square centimeters. Now this is a bit trickier. So what I'll do is I'm going to split this up into 2 rectangles. So this is my first rectangle here. So I can see it's 1, 2. So what I do with these 2 squares, I halve it. So I do 2 shared by 2 equals 1. So I know this part of the triangle here is 1. So let me draw a little line down here. Rub this out and put 1 there. Now for the other half, I'll draw a square around there. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 squares, and I'm going to halve it because I only want this part. So I had 4 squares and I'm going to divide it by 2, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. So I know this blue part is 2. So let me rub this out. This part here is 2. So my total area for this blue triangle is 1 plus 2, which is 3. So let me rub all this out and write 3 down. So this area here is going to be 3 square centimeters. And finally, we can do the same thing with this. So what we do is we draw a rectangle and we say we've got 1, 2, 3 squares, but we only want half. We're going to halve it. So half of 3. So if we did 3 shared by 2, I know it's 1.5. So this half is 1.5. And if I look carefully at the other half, this half is also 1.5. So what I need to do is 1.5 add 1.5. And what I do is I do 5 add 5 is 10. Put the 0 there. Carry the 1 through. And I've got 1 add 1 is 2. Add the 1 we've carried over is 3. So again, this orange triangle has an area of 3 square centimeters. 3.0 is the same as 3. So let me rub all this out. So that will be 3. So if I look carefully, triangle A is the odd one out. It's only got 2 square centimeters for the area. Everything else is 3. Again, there are other ways of doing these questions, but we can tackle those in a separate video. Question 18, we're given 4 shapes. And we're asked to work out which of these shapes, when you draw the diagonals, do the diagonals cross at 90 degrees or at right angles? So we need to write the word diagonal and right angle. So remember, a diagonal goes from one corner or vertex to another one that is not next to it. So for example, this here is one diagonal. So let's write down the word vertex. And that simply means corner. And the plural of vertex is vertices. And that simply means corners. Lots of them. And I want you to learn all these words. It's important they come up again and again. So let's draw the other diagonal there. So we want to know if that's 90 degrees. So I can see for a kite, so this shape is a kite. The diagonals cross at 90 degrees. Let's do the same thing for this shape. So one vertex to the other and one vertex to the other. And because this is a square, so let's write the word square there. And it's got a strange spelling, so you have to learn this. Square. When you do the diagonals, they cross at 90 degrees. So again, the diagonals cross at 90 degrees or at right angles. Now this here is a rectangle, so let's write that down, rectangle. And let's draw the diagonals. That's your first diagonal. It goes from this vertex to this vertex. And same thing there, it goes from this vertex to this vertex. It joins these two vertices. And if I look carefully, that is not a right angle. So I won't tick that one. Now this last shape is a parallelogram. This is a really long word. Parallelogram. And if we draw the diagonals from one vertex to the other, we can see that that is not a right angle. So we won't tick that one. So the only two shapes from a kite, a rectangle, a square, and a parallelogram where the diagonals cross at right angles is a kite and a square. And one more thing, because they've all got 4 edges, they've all got 4 sides, they are called quadrilaterals. Quadrilaterals. So I want you to learn all these words. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you should know kite, square, rectangle and parallelogram. In question 19, we're given 4 numbers and we're asked to multiply 2 of them to give 1 million. 1 million. And you have to know 1 million is 1 and 6 zeros. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what we can do is try multiplying these numbers and find out how many of them will give 6 zeros. So if I did 200 times 2000, I know that's not going to work. Because the shortcut is 2 times 2 is 4. And I add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. And we don't want 4, we want 1. So that's no good. So what I'm going to try now is 200 times 5,000. 200 times 5,000. As before, we do 2 times 5. We ignore these zeros. So 2 times 5 is 10. And then we add these zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if we have a look carefully, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros and a 1 and a 1. Again, in your head, you should have 1, 2, 3, comma. This is for thousands. 1, 2, 3, comma. We always group them into threes. This will give you your million, so it'll be 1 million.